Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you very much for coming along today. Hopefully, we're going to be giving you some information that is going to be valuable to you and easily understood. Just to forewarn you, all the information that we're giving you in a certain format will be uploaded to the parent portal. So do not feel that you need to... Okay. Do not feel that you need to take photographs, snapshots, anything. We will have all that stuff on the parent portal for you at a later time. All right, as always at Saints, let us bring ourselves into the presence of God, and we'll start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, you talked about the need for us to have our priorities right and not to hoard possessions. You said that where our treasure is, there our heart and commitment will really be. Touch our hearts that we may love people and use things, and never the other way around. Inspire us to seek first your kingdom and use our talents and gifts for the benefit of others. Lord, inspire me to get my priorities right and make my choices wisely. St. Marcel Champagne, Mary, our good mother, and let us always remember to, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. All right, so the first part of the presentation, I'm going to be talking about QTAC and a little bit about what is involved in the process. And then I'm going to turn over to Ms. Light, who's going to take you into a more detailed, in-depth process of what needs to be done, so what needs to be thought through before getting onto the website and actually putting preferences in place. One thing I do want to forewarn you, Ms. Light is deciding to go on holiday, some long service leave coming up, but in order to assist at the school, Mr. Moot has volunteered to stand in from week 8 of this term to the end of week 2 in term 4. So that's for 5 weeks. He is going to be available to assist students in the careers office during the break times to assist with QTAC. So just know that you're going to have someone here at all times to assist. And if Mr. Moot is not available, of course, gentlemen, just send me a Teams message or an email, and I'll do whatever I can for you. All right, so first thing, if you don't know what QTAC is, there's a screen to tell you. It is basically a university-run company that fields offers and gives opportunities to students. So it is owned by universities. It is for universities. The one thing that is different with the ATARs versus the old OP system is that the QTAC now calculates the rank. That all used to be done by the QCA before, but now QTAC does that. So their purpose, to field offers and to process applications. So if your sons are looking at going to tertiary study, including TAFE, QTAC is the main port of call for students in Queensland. So here are the universities, and some of the students may already know which universities they want to attend. All the universities have different requirements, and they have turned over those requirements to QTAC. So QTAC knows what the universities are expecting. So they've done a lot of the hard work themselves. But gentlemen, it's worthwhile if you know you want to go to a specific university, get on that specific university's website as well. The more knowledge you have about the university, the better off that you're going to be, understanding what the process is. They might give you, they used to be called bonus points, but now they're adjustment factors. You might get a little bit of insight on what subject you're doing, and may give you a little bit of an edge in. If you're looking out of state, there are the same sorts of QTAC organizations in other states. So just be aware that Canberra and New South Wales are all together with UAC, but you would go through the same sort of process. Now, parents, we have asked all of the students in year 12 to form a QCE account and a QTAC account. So hopefully they're already one step ahead with this process, having already set up those accounts, but they'll be able to show you how they've done that. All right, so please be aware here, the admission rules. Different across the board. but one processed through QTAC. So, are you eligible for a course? And then do you have the merit for the course? So the first thing that QTAC is going to be looking at is, are you eligible? And then if you are eligible for the course, have you made the marks to get into it? So 2-point process. As we look at it, are you old enough? Have you done the right prerequisites, meaning the right subjects? If it's asking you to have done specialist maths and you haven't, well, then you haven't done the eligibility requirement, and QTAC will bypass your preference. So it's very, very important that you are looking at what the courses that you want to get into, what they actually have required of you. Now, parents, I need you to understand that universities are businesses. And since we have had the international students not be coming into our universities the same way, the number of prerequisites have actually dwindled. They are a money-making venture. They need bums on seats. And just because what used to be needing mathematical methods or Maths B is no longer required, if your son does not have that mathematical ability, he may get into that course and then find out that he needs to pay a few $1,000s to do a bridging course. They will accept the student even if he does not have the ability to do the course. So please be mindful of that, okay? Next, merit. So here's where you're competing. At a certain degree, let's say for medicine, if you want to be in Brisbane, what is your ATAR? And in Brisbane, you may need an ATAR of 98.5. You may need an ATAR of 99.2. It depends on the year when everyone is applying. So they do give you ballpark ATARs, so you can have an idea what you may need. And sometimes they don't. But if it's giving you an idea that you need to have a 99 ATAR to get into a course of study, it's not going to change too much. If they get no interest, they may be accepting some 98s and some 97s. But asking for a 99 and you get an 88, probably not going to happen. So do look at those numbers as guidelines. The other thing to remember is sometimes the number is low in order to get applications, and many people start applying into that subject. So what may have been thought of initially as a 65, and then a student gets a 73, oh yes, I'll get in. But it may end up being that the lowest score they've taken was a 78, based on who's applying. So those numbers are not set in stone. So please be mindful of that when you're looking at the courses of study. They are suggested numbers of ranks, nothing more than that. But just know that you're competing. All right, as you go further down, you're looking at diplomas, which we don't offer. Depending on the degree that you're going to do, you might be looking at what certificates you have in certain subjects. If you've done anything external, let's say you're going to have a gap year, and then you don't even want to apply the first year, you may have picked up some other skills in your application process later on, and you include those. All right, so, but it all comes down to competition. When you're applying for a course, who else is applying for a course, and what sort of results do you have? Okay? So when we're looking at the ATAR, just as a reminder, it is attributing a number between 99.95 and 30 to all students in Queensland who enrolled when they were in year 7. So even if those students have left school, they are contributing to the mix of 30 and below. Quite a few students, especially if they've left school, are probably not going to have anything above a 30. And then all the way to 99.5, 99.95, okay? All right, so that number then is used to calculate where your son stands in comparison to every other student graduating in year 12, as well as those who matriculated in year 7, all right? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so your son is special to you. We know that. You know his name. You love him. QTAC sees him as a number. So it's very important that his numbers are good if he's applying for certain subjects, and especially as that identifier, the number who he is for his learning account, he needs to make sure he has that number correct anyway. So it's all about those numbers. Okay. One thing to remember is that the QCE, which is done through QCA, is the graduation certificate. QCAA has nothing to do with the ATAR. The QCE has nothing to do with the ATAR. The ATAR is only for tertiary study. Okay? I missed one, I think. All right, so students would know this. And if they're ATAR eligible, they might be here tonight. To be ATAR eligible, it's either 5 general subjects or 4 general subjects plus a general, which makes 5, a Cert 3, or an applied subject like religion and ethics. So we do have that old system, a few hiccups now. People thinking, oh, I didn't think religion and ethics could go toward an ATAR. It most certainly can. But you're only going to have one applied subject that can go to help with your ATAR. Okay? Gentlemen, if you're unclear about that, please come see me. You don't need to ask other teachers because it is in direct contradiction to the old system. All right, also know that English will count toward your ATAR, even essential English. You must pass English to get an ATAR. It may not be used in the calculation of your ATAR, but you must pass it. So if you're in essential English, you pass units 3 and 4, and it's not used to calculate your ATAR, you still get an ATAR. But if you're in English and you end up failing your external exam, which causes you to fail units 3 and 4, no matter how well you've done in your other classes, you will not be given an ATAR. You can still apply for university. You will just be doing so in a different way without an ATAR. All right, as I mentioned about the Certificate 3, that is the only thing that we offer. Any students who have done anything outside of school, such as diploma or another Certificate 3, maybe in retail, those can be used as that 5th subject for your ATAR. It can also be used by a university as an actual rank to get you in. The old rank for Certificate 3 used to be a 68. So if you received a Certificate 3, maybe it's going to be in sport and fitness, or it's in Certificate 3 in retail, which we know some of the kids do. That's an automatic number that you get for your rank, no matter what else you have. So even though you may not be ATAR eligible, there is still a ranking system that goes with how you can get into tertiary study. If you have questions about that, gentlemen, just come see me, and I'll clarify it for you. All right, but just know one Certificate 3 can go toward an ATAR, but it also has that double effect on giving you a rank number. Now, oh, I'm having fun with that. There we go. Scaling. This is just a reminder that every year the scaling is going to change. In the past 2 years, the same 6 subjects have scaled as the top 6 subjects. So specialist maths, physics, chemistry, math methods, I'm going to get them out of order, literature, then economics, or it could be economics and literature, okay? But those are the same 6, 2 years in a row. So how scaling works is the idea that those subjects are a lot more difficult, and the students who are more academically inclined are taking those subjects and are doing well. So they have algorithms that they put together based on what they believe, and I'm talking about QTAC here, what they believe are the harder subjects. So I don't think it would be a surprise to any of our students that general math is easier than mathematical methods. So an A in mathematical methods should be a higher skilled subject than general math. I have had past experience where a student has barely made a C in mathematics methods equivalent and made an A in specialist because he found the math C back then a lot easier than the math B. You never know what's going to happen with the student, but we look at generalities. And if the students are taking Math C, which is now specialist, they are actually taking 8 periods of maths, 8 periods of very, very difficult maths. And this is at a time when the government is pushing students to take as many math and science classes as possible. So because we have a governmental push, and we know those classes are fairly hard, for some reason the algorithms understand that, and they are scaling them higher. I'm being a little cheeky with that, I hope you know. But that is just the reality of how it is. We do believe that all subjects are important, but in our world, they're not all going to scale the same way. ATAR calculators. Gentlemen, you can use these as you want, if you want. I've used them. It's not totally accurate, but they can give you a ballpark idea of how you may do. Now, QTAC will say don't use them at all because it may give you an inflated sense of what your grade is going to be, but you're competing against everybody else. And when it comes to your external exam, you're in the same boat as every other student taking the exam at that time. And if you come out of that first chemistry exam saying, that was the hardest test I have ever taken, oh no, my ATAR is shot, you can bet that every other student in the state is probably thinking the same thing. It's not going to be just you. It is everyone sitting that exact same test. So keep that in mind as you are going through your external exams. Not one test is going to have a huge impact on that overall ATAR. But if the number is so important for you to get into a course of study, you need to have a positive approach about how you are going to do your exams. Because if you overstress yourself, you could possibly be your own worst enemy. So you need to start communicating to your parents now about how you are going to tackle your external exams. Now, parents, I'm hoping that you have all seen the schedule that has been sent out. I think, Mr. Dorhe, you did make sure all the students have had that. So it is worthwhile taking a look at that schedule for the external exams. They do try to not have all the science at one time or all the maths at one time, so they are intermixed, thinking about what students may like. So if they're business and humanities oriented, they may every 3 days or every 2 days have an exam. With science, it's the same way. So you're not going to have a Tuesday of chemistry and a Wednesday of biology and a Thursday of physics. They are splitting them around the 17 days. All right, they are mindful of what the students are taking, so they are trying to make it the best possible experience that they, if you can call external exams positive. But anyway, the best experience they can in that testing situation. All right, so calculation of ATARs. What you need to understand is that we are all waiting on what the results are going to be from QCA for external assessments. So we will know, and the boys will know, what their internal results are from their first 3 internal assessments. Then they will take their externals. QCA will get all that information, create a score out of 100 for each one of the subjects, and then they will turn that information over to QTAC. QTAC will look at each individual student and see what subjects they're taking, look at the results, put it through their algorithms, then everything gets scaled, and voila, before Christmas, gentlemen, you are going to have what your ATAR is. So generally it was on a Saturday. I think they moved it to a Friday, so it'll be probably the Friday before Christmas in all likelihood, and then you will know what your ATAR is, okay? So how do you access it? You have the QTAC account. So hopefully we've all set that up. And gentlemen, if you're wanting to be invited back for the assembly in week 2 of next year, we need you to make sure that we have access to what your ATAR is. So we'd like you to be able to share that with us. Once you see it, and let's say you were hoping for a 97, and you ended up getting a 42, and you decide you don't want to share it, you can always go back in and say, I don't want to share anymore. Okay, so if you're really embarrassed by something you got, but what we'd like you to do is actually share with us, because for most of you, we are rejoicing in your success. So there were over 32 students last year who got an ATAR over 90, which is incredible results when you're talking about a third of your cohort, all right, and not just ATAR eligible cohorts. You know, it's wonderful news. So we're hoping that you'll be able to do that, but that's your choice, all right? So parents, we've taken the kids through that. Hopefully they'll be able to show you, all right, and then how you get on the portal and what you need to do for the system. It is all online there, okay? Now, this is the sharing page that I want you to look at. See that box there? So gentlemen, I need you to make sure that you tick the box in order to share. If you untick it, unless they've changed the wording, okay? If you untick it, then that means that we're not going to be able to see it. All right, so the release date, do we have it there? No, but you will get, it will go straight to the students and not to you parents, only to the students. And that's why it's very important that they actually have a separate email account. We try to get all the boys set up with a Gmail account or a Hotmail or something else, because once they actually leave school here, their account is destroyed. So we're not going to have an email address for them anymore, okay? All right, now anything that you may want to know about QTAC, just get onto the QTAC website. They have so much information on that site. You can spend hours and hours of joyous fun going from page to page, reading lots of documents and finding out everything that they find exciting. But it's there for you. But we're trying to be a little briefer than that, okay? So just know evidence is going to be there for your questions, but we also want you to come see Ms. Light or Mr. Moot, or go onto the portal for the forms that we're going to be offering you. Okay, that's basically that last thing. So you will have the numbers. I will tell you that they don't like to answer the phone. It is easier to email if you do have specific questions, okay? Now I'm going to turn you over to Ms. Light. Hopefully I didn't tire you out too much. You could stand up and take a little bit of a stretch, and she'll be ready for you. Thank you.
Well, as Mr. Helms had said, I'm just here to go into a little bit more depth on how you are selecting your preferences and a little bit more about QTAC, and then also about apprenticeships as well. We'll discuss those at the end. Oops, sorry, my apologies. So applying to QTAC in 2022, you can scan the QR code as well, so it's an easy app, and then you can get all the information that you need from the QR app. This second one, thinking about further study. So anyone that's going to be studying, whether it's an apprenticeship or whether they want to do a trade or you want to go to university, the boys have already been set up with this, but I know some students were away during that process. So they need a USI. Everyone will need a USI now if they're going to do any training whatsoever, whether you're going to do a first aid course or whether you're going to do a plumbing trade or an electrical trade or whatever. Any vet course whatsoever needs a USI, and any university course, you will need a USI also. It's a unique student identifier, and it will be your little suitcase that will carry along with you all your life with all your qualifications. So you can download them and show prospective employers or other universities or other training organisations what you already have. What grade is required to meet a prerequisite? So when we're thinking about prerequisites, we're thinking about what courses we're going to take and anything that may be required. So for instance, you need English, as Mr. Helms has already said. A prerequisite might be physics, math methods, and every university will have different prerequisites. So if English is listed as a subject, prerequisite, you've got to satisfy that English, pass it, all the units 3 and 4. So preferences. Before you submit your QTAC application, you'll need to make a list of the top 6 courses that you want to be enrolled in. So these may be, you may have different areas that you want to go to. So you think, okay, I might get an ATAR of 80. Now QUT will take an ATAR of 84, but Griffith University will take an ATAR of 80. So for you, you might want to put your preference, so you know that you're going to get as number 1 as Griffith University, or you could put QUT up, but there's a possibility that you mightn't get into it, and they'll offer you the second preference. So that's where your preferencing selection needs to be adjusted as your ATAR comes out. It's important in the application process. You need to do the first offer round, which will be the December round offer. And then if you don't like, or you prefer a January offer round, you would get your preference that you have chosen. You would say, yes, I'll conditionally accept that, but I will move my January preferences to the first preference. So they will then get moved on top, but I'll show you a little bit more about this as we go along. The boys all were given one of these student preference selection information sheets. I will also send these out again so that you have the preference selection sheet and the way you need to actually put your preferences down. So you need your first 1 and 2 that you really, really are interested in. Then you've got your third and your 4th preference, and that's sort of your backup area. And then you have your 5th and 6th preference, and I'll go into this a little bit more, and they might be your pathways. So if you change your mind, that's okay on your QTAC application. So you can make changes 3 times. So any 3 times you can change it around. After that, QTAC will charge you around about $45 per change. So you've got your initial fee, which is about $75 to apply for QTAC, and then you'll have 3 lots of changes. The 4th change, you'll be charged an extra $45 or $47. And this is a really good point down the bottom. It's a good idea to keep one of your free changes for when your ATAR is released, so that you know you can change your preference selection to suit your ATAR. This is a case start about Harry. So Harry really knows what he wants to do. He's been researching everything and he's really interested in nursing. So he goes onto the QTAC website and he wants to have a list of nursing areas that he can apply for at different universities. So Harry has found that he can do a Bachelor of Nursing at UQ. Then he can also do a Bachelor of Nursing at QUT, Bachelor of Nursing at Australian University, then at Griffith University, then again at Griffith University he can do health science. And the bottom 2 are really his backup pathways. So if he doesn't get the ATAR score that he doesn't want, it doesn't matter. He's got that backup pathway where he can go through and get a diploma of nursing and then move into a degree. Now, some of the universities also have colleges where you can do a diploma through the college. So Griffith University has a college attached to the university. So you can do your diploma and then also that credit transfer gets crossed over to your bachelor degree. Ordering your preferences, so you've got your desired courses, your backup courses, and then your pathway courses. Pathway courses, less competitive degree areas, maybe in a rural area, maybe in a university that's not, up in the cities, regional institutions, and maybe you could do a bridging course. Apply for a diploma, you get cross credit, and you're guaranteed to get into another university of your preference generally. So there's always options available to you. And if you're really stuck, you can call QTAC or probably best to email them or on the chat. So, okay, congratulations, you've got an offer. Yay, your ATAR's come out, you're so happy. Now, this is the big thing. So you can accept that offer, you can reject it, you can defer it, or you can conditionally respond. So the thing is, here is where I'm talking about those conditionally respond, is you want to now move your December preference down a bit lower, and you want to move your January preference up a little higher to your first or second preference. But you've got to move it down. You can't leave it at the same area. So then, unless you can't say, I want to just keep this and go on further. You can't just keep it conditionally. You have to actually physically change your preferences and move up your January offer. That's where you want to be at QUT or whatever university it is. So you'll need to swap it round. And that's where they're saying, retain that last swap until you receive your ATAR. Yeah? So what else do I need to know about responding? So if you conditionally accept the offer, you'll need to rearrange your preferences. And this is what we've talked about. You can't conditionally accept a first preference and move the preference down to conditionally accept it. So if there is a problem with it, you need to contact QTAC and check with them and reactivate a previous offer if you changed your mind. All right, so there are options if you change your mind, but you just need to be mindful of that and also watch your emails. What else do I need to know about responding to an offer? If you're enrolled in a course and no longer wish to study it, withdraw from it. So you have a census date that you need to withdraw from. Check your offer email, response information. Some institutions will let you know conditionally to accept an offer in a short amount of time. So you have that short window of space. So they might say, you need to tell me if you're going to do this by such and such a date. So you need to be mindful and keep note of those dates. And they may like you to enroll within a certain time frame. So adjustment schemes, this is what Mr. Helms was talking about. There is an ATAR and there are the adjustment schemes. So that is an additional points on top of your ATAR. It doesn't change your ATAR. Your ATAR stands as what it is, but we'll go on further. So selection ranks and adjustment factors, you have ATARs that if you're in a regional area like we are, and I'll come to that, you may be able to get an RA3, which will give you an extra 2 additional points. And every institution is different. Every institution has their own adjustment factors and ranking. So you might find Griffith will give you 2 points if you've done 2 sciences, but QUT will only give you 1 point if you've done 2 sciences. It would just depend on the university themselves. So the Educational Adjustment Scheme, so the EAS, it's helping your studies if they've been negatively affected. It applies the adjustment points to your rank, and it helps you to boost up your ranking system. But generally, most universities will take your ATAR first. Oops, sorry. Okay, so there's financial hardship, there's home environment and responsibility, there's English language difficulties, there's personal illness or disability, and the school environment. So they're some of the EAS categories that you can go into. You would need to download the application form and fill in all the required paperwork for that. And in some instances, you will need to get the school to approve that as well. So other adjustment schemes, each institution has its own adjustments, as we've talked about. So with the regional schools, we have adjustment factors with JCU quite often. So they will offer extra points if you've done the 2 sciences, or they'll offer early rounds if you're going to get your ATAR that you think you're going to get, and they'll give you an early offer. We're looking at things like elite athletes, equity, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. So they have all these different other adjustment schemes that you need to look into. One is the Rural Access Scheme form that I just mentioned. So here in Cairns, we are in an RA3 area. If you are looking or living in Cooktown, you might be living in an RA4, so you would get an extra adjustment factor with that. So instead of getting 2 adjustment factors for here in Cairns, you might get 3 for up at Cooktown. You will need to fill in the form, you will need to put in your QTAC number, and you will also need to get school to write you a letter that you can prove that you have lived in Cairns for 5 years, a minimum of 5 years. Even if it's in different areas, if you've been at 2 different schools, you will need to get 2 different schools confirmation that you went to that school. So say you went to Cairns High for 2 years and then you came to Saints for 3 years. So you will need to get Cairns High to sign a letter and also give you an ID information, and then you will need to get Saints to give you that same letter as well, so that you can gather the 5 years continuous. So we've got courses. Sorry, my apologies. So course search, you know that you look these up through the QTAC website. You need to use the options on the sidebar. So if you want to specifically go into nursing, or if you want to go into sciences, you can look at any sorts of science. Then you can refine your search. You can then go into, you want to do environmental science, or you want to do ecology, or you want to do biological science, or whatever it is. So using options on the sidebar to help you out. And you'll find that you'll see all the universities that deliver any sort of science all on the left-hand side. And you can then look at their packages, what they deliver, what they're going to provide you. Are you interested in that? Yes, no. So you can choose between the universities and what suits you most. University might not be for everyone, so you might want to think about going to TAFE or doing employment or doing a trade qualification, and that's fine. Not everyone is for university. Supposedly QTAC would help out with this, but I'm not too sure on their applications with helping out at trades or anything like that. So for me, I've put in these websites for you. So you need to go into the Australian Apprenticeship website and look if you want to get a trade. So you go in there, have a look at what trades there are, what you need to do as an apprentice, and there will be a number of steps that you need to follow. So here we've got the apprenticeship. What should I do? What is an Australian apprenticeship? So generally, any of your trades come under the Australian apprenticeship. We have group training organisations that help you get an apprenticeship. So through the Australian government, there are group training organisations that will assist you in, if you're not interested in the training organisation or the apprenticeship that you're going, they will help move you, some of the larger ones, so you can apply to different areas. There are ASINs, so the Australian Apprenticeship Support Network. So say for instance you don't know who you signed up with as an apprentice. You can go and look at the ASINs and they'll help you find out who you actually signed up with originally as an apprentice and get some support through them. So the ASINs are Sereno Russo, MEGT, Skill 360, Busy at Work, MREL, CAPTA, OSMAC. There are numerous amounts of them, but they're all here so you can look up. If you don't want to stay here in Queensland, you can do New South Wales, you can do Victoria, Western Australia, wherever you want to go. My apologies. So here I've just got, MREL here as an ASIN, so a group training organisation that can help you with your apprenticeship and support you with your apprenticeship. As I said before, Skill 360, they'll help you through employability skills, where you want to go, what you need to do, who you need to see. Key dates, and this was the major one that we were talking about before. So you have your December offer. Remember, QTAC is open now, but it's not a rush. First in, best dress isn't best dress. So everyone is equal. So you don't need to rush back at home now and put in your QTAC application and order your preferences. You need to do all your research, and you've still got another couple of months before it closes. So you need to think about where you want to go. It doesn't close until the 8th of December, I'm pretty sure. It's a bit hard to see. So you've got plenty of time for that. You've got your December offer round, then you've got your January offer round. So that's where you're going to change your preferences if you wanted something as your first preference in January, but you'll have needed to have put your December offer first and then swap them around. So as I can see here, due date. So you have all the due dates there and when everything closes off. And there is plenty of time. Application tips, apply early. It's not imperative, but you don't need to apply like tomorrow. But make sure you have enough time. You're not applying on the night that it's due. You're applying, thinking about it a couple of months before, getting organised and making sure that you know what you want to do. So use your own personal email. Make sure that someone else has authority to go in and talk with QTAC, especially if you're going to go away or you're going on schoolies or anything like that. Check your course and any entry requirements, and ask QTAC if you're stuck any time. Again, as Mr. Helms has pointed out, the fact sheets and publications, you can get your digital QTAC book and you can go in and look through all of that as well. Anyone can go onto the QTAC website and look at this information.
Thank you, Ms. Light.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Helen. And I just didn't want to end the night without thanking Mr. Helms, Mrs. Like, Mr. Dorothy for coming out tonight, and for Mr. Moot. So can you just put your hands together for those staff that presented? And I would encourage you to tap into their expertise. I have a greater appreciation for what you're going through this year. I've got a daughter in Year 12 as well. At the moment, we have no idea what she's doing, and I don't think she knows what she's doing. And if she has decided, she hasn't told me yet either. So I'll probably be asking you for advice tonight rather than you asking me. But I do encourage you to tap into Helen and to Lance and to Andrew and Sean when he's filling in for Helen, just to make sure that you get the right advice.